Gina Isla, Dia Git, August Folger. Welcome to the annual general meeting of the Association of Medical and Dental Graduates, RCSI. Due to this annual general meeting being a virtual event, it appears we have members from all around the world linking in, at well over 100 at the moment, so welcome to all. The AGM, according to our constitution, is normally held in April every year. Last year, 2020, it was deferred and was held in December. It was again another virtual event. Consequently, it is only 4 months since our last AGM. The AGM is the business element of the association. This is where we tell you of our achievements and confess our sins, but of course, we have none of the latter. You will receive reports from the various officers on the committee. However, all will be brief. It is sad and unfortunate that we have graduates of the RCSI and members of the association who have died in the past year, some from COVID and others from various reasons. In these difficult times, when families cannot be together, the grief of the bereaved family is magnified, and we remember them all at this time. However, one person I will mention is Dr. Monica Owens. She was in the School of Dentistry in 1950, and she died recently. Dr. Monica Owens was married to Dr. Cahill Owens, 1957, who died back in 2012. Cahill was a 1947 medical graduate and also a 1957 graduate of the School of Dentistry. The RCSI had a School of Dentistry back then, and it carried on up to the 70s. Hence the name of our association, the Association of Medical and Dental Graduates, encompassing both schools. Two doctors are worthy of mention for their good deeds, and of course these are graduates. I must mention Dr. Kieran Nolan. She was the class of 2014. She rescued a dog on the Wicklow Mountains in February 2021. It was in the national papers. There was a possibility that the doctor would have perished, so her good deed was well merited. And the second graduate, well, members of my vintage will remember a comedy film called Airplane. Well, in September 2020, on a flight from Washington to Frankfurt, that awful call came out, "Is there a doctor on board?" Dr. Andreas Kutzer from the class of 1996 answered the call. It was a pregnant girl of 21 weeks gestation, and she was in difficulty and in pain and distress. Due to his experience and training, he stabilized her condition and got her to Frankfurt in a stable and well condition. Apparently, he has answered similar calls 15 times previously on flights. And as we can see here, he was granted his flying wings. This year is his 25th anniversary year, so it is actually rather a pity that we won't meet here in Dublin. But when I fly again, I want Anders on board, and I want him sitting next to me. The college and association are grateful for these graduate stories, so please keep them coming. And now I'm going to call upon Dr. Maura Briscoe. Dr. Maura Briscoe is the Honorary Secretary for Dr. Maura Briscoe, Honorary Secretary for the minutes of the last AGM. Next slide, please. Following that, Dr. Briscoe will give the Secretary's report for the year 2021. Maura.
Good evening, everyone. Greetings from Belfast. So my role here today is to give you a summary of the minutes of the AGM from December 2020, and then just to give you just a very few brief words about what we've been doing since 2020 on the Association Committee. So starting first with the minutes of the AGM of the December 2020. So this was a truly international event. for the association and a virtual event with 140 graduates registered, and that accounted for the participation of 18 countries. Apologies were received from Mr. High-Brown and Professor William McGowan, both trustees of the association, and also Professor Kate K. Teo from Canada, who is the class of 1978. Our president, Dr. Antonio Lahan, opened that meeting in December and gave her presidential address, stating the origins and remit of the association. She outlined the work of the association and went through the events that took place from April 2019 to December 2020. So going through those then, Dr. Lahan attended the conferring dinner, which was held in May 2019, and addressed the graduates and presented the association's gold medal to the final year student of the class of 2009, and that was to Dr. Oisin Connaughty. And this award is important because it is voted for by the students themselves. Now, because of the pandemic in 2020, the class of 2020 was conferred both virtually and earlier in April 2020. And Dr. Lahan participated on behalf of the association in that event. And that the final year student award for 2020 was given to Dr. Conor Mulvin. Dr. Lahan also attended some memorial services both in June and July 2019. Also in her speech, she talked about the graduates' reunion and the Alumni Gathering, which took place in August 2019, which was a two-day event. It's culminated in a gala dinner in the Mansion House, and the association's Distinguished Graduate Award for 2019 was to Dr. Kate Coleman. But in 2020, this gathering was a virtual event, and the association welcomed over 1,600 attendees and celebrated reunion events. In 2020, the association's Distinguished Graduate Award was presented to Professor Maura O'Brien with the citation delivered by Dr. Mary Archer. It is also recorded in the minutes that the association's annual dinner for graduates occurred in November 2019, and 170 graduates attended the college in Dublin for that dinner, but no dinner occurred in 2020. In December 2019, Dr. Lahan, on behalf of the association, attended and congratulated the college and all those involved in achieving university status, that is RCSI, University of Medicine and Health Sciences. We also recorded our sympathies to the family of Terry Slattery, head porter of the college, who died in December 2020. In March 2020, on behalf of the association, Dr. Lahan and others on the committee attended the London RCSI gathering, which was hosted by Lord Darzai in the House of Lords and was followed by a dinner in the Caledonian Club. They were the main events recorded by Dr. Lahan in her speech at the AGM in December 2020. And following this, we had available on request a short interim treasurer's report and a very short honorary secretary's report. Dr. Lahan then concluded the business part of the meeting by thanking all those involved in the association, and the chain of office was handed over virtually to the incoming president, Dr. Patrick Troy, whom you've met already. The ordinary members and the officers of the committee were elected and reaffirmed, and that concluded the business end of the AGM. Moving on then, the minutes also record the feedback from RCSI Drama Society, which in 2019 received a grant from the association, and they fed back on how they spent the grant money awarded by the association to them. And the grant award for 2020 was presented to the Southeast and East Asia Society, but more about that later. The association's charitable donation for 2020 went to the Order of Malta's Ambulance Corps, and also there was a donation given to Women's Aid. After this, the William Taylor lecture followed the AGM, and this lecture was delivered by Professor Roseanne Kenny, entitled "Age is Not a Number." As many of you know, Professor Kenny is the principal investigator on Ireland's largest longitudinal study on the experience of ageing. In the lecture, Professor Kenny shared a range of data on the biological and chronological aspects of ageing, highlighting that differences start young in life. She went on to talk about different regions in the world and those that had longer and better outcomes, and the positive internal and external factors within these communities. The lecture was fascinating and was very well received by the audience. So that concludes my report on the minutes of the AGM of December 2020 and the Sir William Taylor lecture. I now want to move on just to say a couple of sentences in regard to the Honorary Secretary's report on what we have done between December 2020 and now in May 2021. So we have had 4 meetings since January 2021, and these largely have been about planning and delivery of our programme of events for 2021-22. So I know that Patrick is going to speak on much of this forthcoming programme, so I'm not going to say anything further about this. But I want to conclude by thanking you all for attending, but also thanks to Patrick, Antonia, and the committee, and indeed the Alumni Office, as I've just taken over this role as Honorary Secretary, and I have been so well supported by everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much, Dr. Briscoe. That's very nice. Next, we will move on now. We'll have a slide for Amanda. Miss Amanda Brown is Honorary Treasurer, and she's going to give us a financial support of the financial situation of the association. Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, Patrick. Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda, and I'm the class of, or from the class of 1994, and the Honorary Treasurer of the Association. I'm going to be giving a very brief Treasurer's report this evening, as Pat and Maura have alluded to, and I'm sure you're all very well aware, with the pandemic and restrictions being as they were, we've not been able to have any of the events that we normally do. However, we have been able to continue with the appropriately socially distant items. So we were very happy to continue with our charitable donations. We chose 2 charities to support this year, donating €2,000 to the Order of Malta and €1,000 to Women's Aid, both very worthy recipients. One of our other outgoings every year is to the Students' Clubs and Societies Prize, which Maura had been speaking about briefly. All the clubs and societies in RCSI are invited to apply for this. The Southeastern Asian Society was the winner for 2020, receiving €1,000, and you'll be hearing more from them and also this year's winner in a little while. Our events that we missed out on are not forgotten. We can only say that we are really looking forward to holding our annual association dinner again, which used to be a very popular event and no doubt will be more so when next we have it. The Caledonian Club dinner held in London after the House of Lords reception, excuse me, also is a sellout and no doubt will be again whenever we re-emerge from our dens. So we are also looking forward to a few other things which we will tell you about hopefully when next we meet. So I'm going to keep this report short and sweet like I promised. The accounts are in good health, both our current and our post office deposit account. Anyone wishing to see the full report can email ourselves at the association email address or Maura Briscoe's address, both of which are listed at the end of tonight's proceedings. And we'd be happy to send anybody out a copy of same. So all that's left for me to do is pass you back to Patrick and say thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the evening. Pat.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Amanda. That's wonderful. Now, we move on now to the President's report. Since the AGM in December, when I took office, there have been very little activity that would have normally taken place. The association meetings have continued, but the President's dinner, the now annual trip to the House of Lords, and the graduate dinner afterwards were all cancelled. The RCSI Alumni Awards, which were virtual, took place on the 25th of April 2021, and a 1996 graduate, Dr. Ben Lebrot, founder of the Floating Doctors, was awarded the Humanity and Community Award from the School of Medicine. I was asked to congratulate him on behalf of the association. I have just noticed that Anders and Ben graduated from the same year, 1996. One saves in the air and the other saves in the seas. 1996 must have been an exceptional year, and it is disappointing that they can't be here for their 25th anniversary face to face, as it were. Final year results are out this week, and I have recorded a congratulations to them. I'm sure you can all remember the trepidation of that day. The final year students will be conferred in May, and all graduates will be congratulated by the association and welcomed into membership of the association. Next slide. Yes. The Alumni Gathering. The Alumni Gathering takes place in August. The association is involved with a range of activities at the gathering. While the event will be virtual, which is unfortunate, perhaps some face-to-face meetings, such as a golf outing for the Frank Prenderville Cup, may be appropriate. We will know this later. The college is keen to have as large a possible international contribution from graduates, and to this end, 4 committee members from the association have been included in the panel to ensure that we get the widest audience as possible. Next slide. Next slide, please, there. That's it, yes. The President's dinner of the Royal College of Surgeons, Professor Ronan O'Connell, is invited to the President's dinner in October. This is the same dinner that was deferred from March, and we do hope that that goes ahead. We would then have the November conferring, and that will be followed by the memorial service on the 11th of November to remember all those who gave their lives in the Great War. RCSI was, and of course still is, a school of surgical excellence, so their skill was greatly valued on the battlefield. Many RCSI doctors and RCSI students who volunteered died in that awful conflict, and we remember all who gave their lives so that others could be free. the association is always invited to this memorial service. Now, next slide. The association dinner will be held at the end of November. Hopefully this will go ahead because the dinner is generally oversubscribed and it offers graduates and friends an opportunity to reconnect just before Christmas. Hopefully another dinner for the president of the college in March 22, and finally the AGM, which will be held in April 2022, when my tenure as president will come to an end. We will now move on to the election of officers and ordinary members of the committee 2021 to 2022. The committee had 2 resignations this year, Dr. Jacinta West and Dr. Sarah Gallagher, and we thank them for their service. They contributed much to the association. The remaining committee members have agreed to remain in place. I'm the president, Dr. Patrick Troy is president, and vice president acting is Dr. Maura Briscoe. Dr. Maura Briscoe has been proposed by Dr. Sheila Jones and seconded by Dr. Patrick Troy. The Honourable Treasurer is Miss Amanda Brown. She was proposed by Dr. Maura Briscoe and seconded by Pamela Mangle. I should say at this stage that this is Amanda's second term as treasurer. She asked to stay on as treasurer. Perhaps she's just very, very fond of the purse strings. Then we have the Honorary Secretary, and this is Dr. Maura Briscoe. Dr. Briscoe asked that she stay on as secretary up until Christmas 2021, so that she can become fully familiar with the workings of the association, and then she would be vice president of the association. And now a slide now for the committee members. Have that there. Yes. So the committee members, as you can see there, Dr. Mary Archer, 1977, Professor Milan Agosami, 1993, Erica Keane, 1987, Dr. Orleth Kelly, 2003. This is a new committee member and she has been proposed by Professor Milan Arasami and seconded by Miss Amanda Brown. Owen Kelleher, 2014. Dr. Antonia Lahan. Now, Dr. Antonia Lahan was the immediate past president, and following 1 year, she actually then becomes a committee member. So she was proposed by Dr. Sheila Jones and seconded by Dr. Pamela Mangle. Dr. Sheila Jones, 1965, Dr. Pamela Mangle, 1971, and Professor Sarah Rogers. As the number of individuals does not exceed the number of available places, the above names are duly elected to the committees. The association proposes to second 2 graduates from abroad onto the committee. We are keen to expand our reach to all members here and abroad. So if you wish to be included, please contact the Secretary of the Association. Similarly, should you be interested in working with the association and wish to become involved, then you are welcome to contact the Secretary. We are allowed by Constitution to have 12 members, and currently we have 2 places to fill on the committee. I am now going to move on to the Student Society Award, and we should have a slide. Now, the association makes an annual grant, as we mentioned before, to a student society following a selection made from the proposals by the student societies. In 2020, we granted €1,000 to the South East and East Asian Society. And I now call upon Eva Diem to tell us a little about the society and how the funding has helped.
Hello. Hi, my name is Eva, and I'm the representative from CSOC. First and foremost, we would like to thank the Association of Medical and Dental Graduates for choosing CSOC as the recipient for We were formerly known as Penang Medical College Students Association, PMCSA, founded exclusively to serve as a platform to connect and support students completing their medical degree under the RCSI REMC training program in RCSI. So it has evolved over the years to include Malaysian students, not under the RCSI REMC training program, and non-Malaysian select. So this opportunity would have come at a later time as we needed funds to replace our broken lion head, which is basically what we use for our lion den. Yeah, and it is one of CSOC's most treasured assets. So that's the main reason why we applied for the grant. The process, so that will be in steps. And we'd like to thank the opportunity to keep you updated in regards to the purchase. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eva. I suspect that with the pandemic, it probably wasn't as easy to organise events or indeed to spend it, but we wish you the very best in the future. Now, this year, we received many proposals from the Student Society for 2021. So if we have a slide for the Choral Society, we thank all the societies for their proposals. But as there can only be one winner, this year's grant goes to the Choral Society, RCSI. So congratulations to them, and here to accept the accolades is Eva Moore.
Hi there, thank you, Dr. Troy, and thank you to all in the Association of Medical and Dental Graduates. On behalf of the Choral Society in RCSI, I am delighted and honoured to accept this grant. The last year has been a strange one for all of us, and this includes those of us in the singing world. Like the rest of the world, we also moved online in September, and we've been meeting once a week on Microsoft Teams and rehearsing songs together. Everyone has kept their microphones off, so unfortunately we can't hear each other. Of course, this doesn't compare to singing together in person, but it has been a great way to keep in touch and have music in our lives throughout this difficult time. Given that performances were not possible throughout the pandemic, we also had to adapt to the world of virtual performances. As such, we produced 2 videos in the last year, with another one in the works. These videos involved each member of the choir recording themselves individually, and all those videos are put together so that everyone is in sync with each other. It has been wonderful to hear our voices together again. This grant will allow us to produce more of these videos in the coming year in the event that performances are still not permitted by COVID regulations. However, when live performances can take place again, we would love to hold a concert where we invite our fellow singers who graduated in the last 2 years to return and sing with us one last time. We look forward to reuniting when the time comes. So once again, thank you so much for awarding us this grant, and we hope that you will join us in celebration when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Eve. That is very, very impressive, and a lot of ingenuity there. Excellent. Perhaps some members of the Choral Society would like to come and sing at our annual association dinner in November, should it go ahead. A committee member, Professor Sarah Rogers, is also in a Choral Society, and I know she voted for your society, and she was delighted that you actually won. And well done indeed. I'll now move on. The association also makes an annual contribution to a charity of its choosing. And we have a slide for that. This year, we are delighted to donate to the Molam volunteering team. This is a non-for-profit charity. This charity was suggested by Suad Al-Shaw, who is Syrian. She's in second year med and who herself is a refugee from Syria. She came to Ireland in 2016 with her mother and has resided in direct provision. Her entry into RCSI was was by way of the AIM High Medicine Scholarship Award, which she achieved through academic ability. She got exceptionally high grades in chemistry and biology, which merited a scholarship. Her entry into RCSI was noted by the European Commission President, Dr. Ursula von der Leyen, in a speech to the European Parliament. Suad Al-Shal will now speak a little about her charity.
Thank you, Dr. Troy, for that introduction. Good evening, esteemed members of the Association of RCSI Medical and Dental Graduates. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Troy and Dr. Keane for reaching out and honoring me with the opportunity to suggest a charity for the association's annual donation. The first charity that came to mind was, of course, Mulham Volunteering Team. In 2012, Mulham Volunteering Team was founded by a group of dedicated Syrian students, young men and women who felt the suffering of fellow Syrians who became refugees in neighboring countries, namely Jordan, Lebanon, and Turkey. They refused to remain idle in the face of tragedy and were determined to lend a helping hand to refugees and to alleviate their pain. Using every resource available to them, the volunteers have been striving to secure basic necessities such as food, shelter, and medication to Syrians in need. With the escalation of the Syrian conflict, the humanitarian crisis reached unprecedented levels, and the numbers of displaced Syrians multiplied rapidly within Syria and abroad. In response, Mulham Volunteering Team expanded and assumed a larger role in the field of humanitarian aid. The team now includes 180 volunteers from all around the world, who work together day and night to ensure that aid is delivered to Syrians in need. Today, Mulham Volunteering Team is proud to have consummated its achievements in the philanthropic field by establishing a non-profit organization bearing its name in Turkey, Germany, and France, along with branches in Jordan, Sweden, and Canada. Through this organization, Mulham Volunteering Team aims to develop a solid institutional framework to its humanitarian work, independent of any political orientation or partisanship. Such institutionalization and independence solidifies the trust of the team's supporters and enables the organization to evolve in accordance with international standards of nonprofit work. I have been closely following one of their campaigns to build housing units for displaced Syrian refugees to move them out of their tents. Their first campaign saw thousands of families move into their new homes. Due to its hugely transformative effect on these people's lives, they've launched another similar project with even bigger aspirations. I personally believe in this NPO to my core, and I think their cause is incredibly noble and their projects absolutely transformative. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your generosity with this donation, and I encourage you all to have a look at their website and read about the campaigns and projects that they organize and lead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suad, we grant €2,000 to the charity. Hopefully you will be able to return at the next AGM and just continue to tell us about the process and how things are progressing. Now I would like to sort of wrap things up now, and I would just simply like to thank the committee for putting together this AGM. Their attention to detail was second to none. I would like to wish the two societies well and hope that the grants are benefiting. And I would like to thank Suad for her charity suggestion, and I wish her very good luck in the future studies, although given her ability, I don't think she will need much luck. And Razan, thank you so much, and hopefully we will meet in better times. And finally, the AGM was organised by Kiva O'Neill and Laura Sherlock from the Alumni Office, and they are somewhere out there in cyberspace controlling this event. We are deeply grateful to them for their help and for their hard work and making it all possible for us to stay in touch. They are truly the angels on our wings. Thank you and good night.